Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
And welcome to The Savage Nation. This is John DePetro sitting in for Dr. Michael Savage on The Savage Nation. You're welcome to join the program today. You can join us by just dialing 1-855-400-SAVAGE, 1-855-400-7282. Log on to our website, michaelsavage.com. Sign up for the Savage newsletter at michaelsavage.com. Arrives 2 to 3 times a week to your inbox. It's totally free. And also, celebrate America this July 4th with Countdown to Mecca, the latest bestseller by Dr. Savage. Again, you can purchase your copy, Countdown to Mecca, right at the website, michaelsavage.com. Also a reminder, Savage Scholarship winners are going to be announced July 2nd. 1,700 applicants submitted essays on what it means to be an American. 5 winners will receive $20,000 each. Total of $100,000 that Dr. Savage put into this. Again, that's going to be announced on July 2nd. Well, President Obama has generated more news. President Obama has decided to drop the N-word. Now, right now, as we speak, as you know, race relations, it is a difficult time, inflammatory time, tension on all ends, all the different rioting that took place, plus now the massacre in Charleston, South Carolina at the church last week. And President Obama, why do you think that he decided to drop the N-word? Is the president, in your mind, is he someone that is bringing people together, or instead inflaming the situation and getting even a further divide? Let's listen. This is the president. He's doing a podcast interview now with Mark Maron and regarding race.
Racism, we are not cured of. And it's not just a matter of it not being polite to say nigger in public. That's not the measure of whether racism still exists or not. It's not just a matter of overt discrimination. Societies don't overnight completely erase everything that happened 200 to 300 years prior.
Why do you think the President of the United States is dropping that in on language that I can't even play, that they don't use on television? There was the hit show on Fox, Empire. The characters on the show, the writers, they wanted to use the N-word. About a rap star becomes a mogul of a record label. They wouldn't even let Fox use it for the show Empire. Here's the President of the United States. Would President Reagan have used that? Why do you think, I'll tell you why I think in just a couple of minutes, but why do you think President Obama intentionally dropped the N-word in the aftermath of everything that is going on right now? 1-855-400-SAVAGE. 1-855-400-7282. On Fox News, the guest was Deneen Borelli. And Deneen Borelli touched on the president's use of the N-word.
We're talking about the President of the United States using the N-word. He has really dragged in the gutter speak of rap music. So now he's the first president of rap, of street. I mean, come on. He has lowered the stature of the high office of the President of the United States.
What is the purpose of using that? How about, have you been at a mall and there's a group of teenagers and they're tossing the N-word around? Or how about the fact in all the different rap songs, as that guest was saying on Fox News, and they use it back and forth, and now the president is using it. Is the president using because he wants everyone to start using it? Is it a way to appeal to a certain group? Is it to make a statement? Why is it? There was no way. Do you think that was an accident? There was no way that was an accident that the President of the United States, would Ronald Reagan have used that word? Would President Bush 41 have used that word? Would President Bush 43 have used that word? 1-855-400-SAVAGE. I don't find it presidential. I don't understand, although I don't know exactly why he decided to drop that in, other than you have a very inflammatory situation, really all over the country, but especially right now in South Carolina. Now, as we speak, the cries are getting louder to take down the Confederate flag. Now, it doesn't fly above the State House in South Carolina, but it flies on the grounds in South Carolina. And the Confederate flag, where you have the head of the NAACP saying, we're going to play it for you right now, Cornell William Brooks, is saying it is nothing more than a symbol of the atmosphere of hate in America. And this is Cornell William Brooks on CBS Face the Nation saying it must come down.
The NAACP has led a boycott of the state of South Carolina for years on end because we are endeavoring to bring that flag down. The fact of the matter is that flag represents exclusion. It represents bigotry. It represents bias. There are white nationalist groups across the country who see that flag representing their values. The fact of the matter is our American flag represents the values of the majority of Americans. That is inclusion. That is democracy. That is the spirit of our founding fathers and our founding mothers. It has to come down. It must come down.
The Confederate flag, especially if you grew up in the South, I have to admit, I mean, growing up in the Northeast, but I recognize that people in the South, it's very, very important. And they say it's a matter of Southern pride. But you're hearing more and more. Now, the governor of South Carolina is expected to say that it should come down. Lindsey Graham is expected to announce that it should come down. This is a real minefield for Republican candidates being asked. A couple of them tried to dodge it over the weekend. What do you think? 1-855-400-SAVAGE. But why is the President of the United States using the N-word? Let's start on line 1 with Dave, who's listening on WBAP in Fort Worth. Dave, welcome. You're up first. This is John DePetro sitting in for Dr. Savage, and you're on the Savage Nation. Hello, Dave.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Very welcome.
Yeah, the President Obama more or less incited this, everything, just like the white kid, 20-year-old white kid that killed the 9 black people in the church. Well, Obama incited that by saying he only cares about young people of color, excluding young white men. And what does that make the young white men in this country feel like when the President of the United States excludes you from helping you? And you know, what do? I mean, the guy is like, you know, he's racist.
You feel the President is? Thank you for the call, Dave. 1-855-400-SAVAGE. I also want to play cut 1. This is President Obama. And again, the president's saying, you know, we're not cured of racism. I don't know if it's something that, I mean, do you think that's something that ever would be cured? People that are still upset over slavery in 2015, the President of the United States is a person of color. And the president's saying we're not going to be cured. But this is where, again, the president doing that interview where he continues to talk about race relations and even mentions the legacy of slavery.
It is incontrovertible that race relations have improved significantly during my lifetime, and that opportunities have opened up, and that attitudes have changed. That is a fact. What is also true is that the legacy of slavery, Jim Crow, discrimination in almost every institution of our lives, you know, that casts a long shadow, and that's still part of our DNA.
He still keeps talking about slavery, continues even in 2015 to talk about slavery. Let's go to line 3. Brandon is listening on WABC in New York. Brandon, welcome, and you're on the Savage Nation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. Thank you for answering my call.
Very welcome. Go right ahead, Brandon.
As far as the slavery issue, there is, among this day and age, there still is that feeling of slavery around. You do have your blue-collar workers, you have your white-collar workers, You have some people who are uneducated, yes, that they can't get certain positions, but that does not mean they're not successful. I think a lot of too much emphasis is being put on right now as citizens of America, citizens of New York City alone. This is a big melting pot. We live in a different state than South Carolina, Florida, North Carolina, which I have lived in, and you do feel the racial tension out there a lot worse than you feel it here.
But that still doesn't answer, Brandon, on the President of the United States using the N-word, the President using language that can't be repeated on the evening news. What message does that send to young people?
Have you ever used that word?
No. Thank you for the call, Brandon. No, I don't use that word. And the President to say, it's just not a matter of being polite to say the N-word in public. See, this goes along, folks, with this narrative that people like Brandon and people like the President seem to think that behind closed doors, Caucasian people that are not African American, are using that word. I'm telling you that they're not. Or they're certainly not out in public like that. But he seems to feel, the President does, as soon as he leaves that Hollywood fundraiser, that they're using that word. And this business of slavery because someone has a mid-level job. Let's go to line 5. Mo is listening on WMAL in Washington, D.C. Mo, this is John DePetro, and you're up on the Savage Nation. Hello, Mo.
Yes, sir. I think that it's obvious why other presidents haven't used that word. I mean, the current president is in a position to be able to not only give a speech on race and to use that word because he represents whites and blacks. I mean, I know that you disagree with that, but I'm not going to say disagree with it. But
I thought President Clinton was the first black president.
Well, he was it from a negative perspective, and me as an African American person, I don't take that as, because it was from a negative perspective. And
all right. Well, then why did he use the word, Mo?
Well, I told you. He used that word to start a conversation. His position, he has the ultimate bully pulpit. He has the ultimate position. So for him to use it, he didn't use it in a derogatory way. He was just explaining. He mentioned the word and explaining a bigger context of what was going on. And I see absolutely, he didn't stoop down. The lady that said that he lowered the office, lowered the office, I disagree with that. I mean, there's people that feel that way anyway just because of who he is and his policies that he...
Now, see, there you go. Thank you for the call, Mo. There you go. Oh, people feel that way. Folks, is there ever an end to the victimhood, to being a martyr? So, no, I think he lowered the dignity of the office by using that language. I do. What do you think? 1-855-400-SAVAGE. 1-855-400-7282. And do you think that Confederate flag should come down off the grounds in South Carolina? It's John DePetro sitting in for Dr. Michael Savage. This is the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust to protect my wealth with gold and silver. Call 800-BUYCOIN.
Neil Borg here.
Racism, we are not cured of. And it's not just a matter of it not being polite to say in public. That's not the measure of whether racism still exists or not. It's not just a matter of overt discrimination. Societies don't overnight completely erase everything that happened 200 to 300 years prior.
If you're flying it, or if the state is flying it as a symbol that African American citizens are not equal to everyone else or should not be equal to everyone else as it was flown during the segregation era as a symbol of massive resistance, take it down. Stomp on it for all I care. If it's flown next to Civil War memorials, next to Civil War monuments, as part of the process of teaching the public about our history, as messy as it is, that's part of history.
You're listening to the Savage Nation. This is John DePetro sitting in for Dr. Michael Savage. You can call the program 1-855-400-SAVAGE. Yes, the first cut you heard was the President of the United States, President Obama, purposely, the question is why, dropping the N-word and talking about you don't erase things that happened 200 to 300 years prior. Boy, folks, it is just never, do you get the feeling it's never going to end? And the second voice you heard, that was David French of the National Review saying stomp on the Confederate flag.